This is Autoline Daily, the show dedicated to enthusiasts of the global automotive industry. Lucid Motors reported its first quarter results, and the EV startup sold more vehicles and cut its losses. But it still has some hurdles to clear. Lucid delivered just under 2,000 Air sedans in Q1, which is an increase of 40% compared to last year. And it says it's on track to make about 9,000 EVs for the whole year. The vehicles it did sell brought in $173 million in revenue, an increase of 16%, and Lucid cut its losses. But it still reported a net loss of $685 million as it gears up to launch new models. The Gravity SUV is supposed to launch before the end of the year, and then it says it will come out with a new midsize EV in late 2026 that costs around $48,000. Right now, Lucid has just over $5 billion of total liquidity, which it says will last it through next year. Obviously, that's not a lot of time, and its production numbers are still low as well. But unlike other EV startups, Lucid is majority owned by the Saudi Public Investment Fund, and so far, it's had absolutely no problem raising more money when it needs to. As recently as March, it invested another $1 billion in Lucid, bringing its total investment to $5.4 billion since 2018. Chinese automaker Nio sold about 160,000 premium EVs last year. While it's been able to increase deliveries with new models, like most EV makers, its sales have sort of started to plateau. So Nio announced a new, more affordable sub-brand called Onvo that it hopes to boost its volumes with. Reports say the new EVs will use batteries from BYD subsidiary FinDreams, a first for Nio. Its other suppliers are CATL and CALB. According to Car News China, Nio will launch Onvo in Europe later this year, followed by another entry-level brand called Firestar that will have a starting price below 30,000 euros. If that's accurate, it's not going to be easy to launch two new brands when you're currently selling under 200,000 vehicles a year. But speaking of Chinese automakers, Zeekr, which is a sub-brand of Geely, expects to raise a bunch of money through a US IPO. It's going to make 17.5 million shares available on the New York Stock Exchange for $18 to $21 each. That would raise nearly $370 million and give it a market cap of over $5.1 billion. However, most of that stock is going to investors. Companies like Geely, Mobileye, and CATL are subscribed to buying almost 350 of that nearly $370 million in shares. And Geely chairman Li Shufu will control about 75% of the shareholder voting power after the IPO. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA, is ramping up its investigation into Tesla's handling of an Autopilot recall. Last month, it opened an investigation into Tesla's over-the-air update because 20 more crashes occurred after the update was issued. And now the safety agency has issued a deadline to Tesla to hand over information about the system. It wants to know how much mileage owners are accumulating using Autopilot, and how many times drivers have been warned to put their hands on the wheel before and after the update. NHTSA says Tesla has until July 1st to answer its questions, and if the company fails to respond, it could be fined more than $27,000 per day for each violation, or up to $135 million in total. Toyota is now filling up its vehicles coming off ships at the Port of Portland with renewable gasoline before they're sent off to dealers. The fuel was made by Chevron and it contains more than 50% renewable content. The oil company says it can reduce life cycle CO2 emissions by more than 40% compared to traditional gasoline. And most importantly, it fills up as fast as normal gas. Toyota worked with Chevron to develop the fuel. And last year, the two companies filled up a Camry, RAV4 Prime, and a Tundra with the fuel and drove the cars from Mississippi to Texas. and now they're expanding the operations to the Port of Portland. Well, this isn't too surprising. Magna, which contract manufactures the Ocean for Fisker, says it doesn't expect to continue building the model. During the supplier's first quarter earnings call, Magna CEO Swami Kotagiri said, production of the Ocean is currently idled at its plant in Austria, so it laid off 500 workers there, and it assumes no further production will take place. As you know, Fisker is struggling. Back in March, the New York Stock Exchange delisted the company because its shares dropped to abnormally low prices. Then, shortly after that, it slashed the price of the Ocean by 39% to help raise money to avoid bankruptcy. CEO Henrik Fisker is also selling his mansion. But that hasn't helped, and the company still has around 4,700 Ocean models in its inventory. And that's why Magna isn't expecting to build any more going forward. China's CATL is the largest battery maker in the world, but it says global battery production needs to be increased to meet future EV demand. The company is building new plants to meet that demand, but it also says it's open to more agreements like the one it has with Ford, who is licensing its technology to build batteries in Michigan. CATL claims that it's in talks with a dozen automakers and even rival battery makers to boost production. In addition to licensing its battery technology, it will provide support for plant construction and operation services to companies to ensure that everything runs smoothly. And while this will bring in more revenue for CATL, it also shows how concerned that it is that there isn't enough capacity to meet future battery demand. BMW is using Boston Dynamics' robot dog to support the operations at its engine plant in the UK. BMW changed the name from Spot to Spotto, like auto and engine, and it's equipped with visual, acoustic, and thermal sensors to help it navigate around the plant by itself. BMW is using Spotto to collect data for the plant's digital twin to help with quality assurance and production planning. In addition to that, the dog is being used to monitor the temperature of manufacturing equipment and identify leaks in compressed air lines. BMW says more applications for Spotto are being tested, and it could be applied to other plants as well. Lots of people seem to think that Americans would drive low-cost EVs like the BYD Seagull. We may see that theory put to test. You may remember Mike Rolino wants to offer its Isetta-like EV in the US, which costs around $13,000. And now another company called Ellie Electric wants to bring another microcar to the States. The Ellie Zero is like an enclosed golf cart that costs just under $12,000 and would be limited to 35-mile-an-hour zones. The company says it will come out with the US version with 90 miles of range, and it's offering a $200 refundable deposit right now. That's a wrap for this show. Thanks for making Autoline a part of your day.
Autoline Daily is brought to you by Bridgestone, solutions for your journey. Intrepid Control Systems, over-the-air engineering boost your game. Tejan Automotive Technologies, the formula for better mobility. And by ZF.
When the peace and quiet of your morning commute is as comforting as your morning macchiato, that's what really matters. Bridgestone Turanza EV tires, less noise for more quiet comfort.
Immerse yourself in engineering innovation while enjoying a fun and engaging networking environment. Get ready for exciting new demonstrations and collaboration with Metro Detroit automotive engineers, R&D, operations professionals, and technical experts. Connect with professionals covering topics on software-defined vehicles, wireless battery management, virtual ECUs, the ongoing innovation in automotive Ethernet, 10-base T1S, and much more. Calibrate your knowledge in the shift towards centralized computing and software-defined vehicles for free at Intrepid's SDV Social on Wednesday, May 8th from 4 to 7 p.m. To register for this event, visit intrepidcs.com/SDV Social.
There's nothing wrong with heavy metal.
Hey,
Lighten up.
But with world-class composite material, Teijin Automotive Technologies makes vehicles lighter, safer, and more eco-friendly.